Hello everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on intelligent automation. This webinar is organized by JK Technosoft in collaboration with UiPath, which is a leading intelligent automation firm. In this session, we will understand how to enable bots with brain. I hope everyone who is watching this is safe and healthy in this current situation. A few things before we begin is everyone will be muted by default. And in case of any queries or clarification, please use the chat window. We'll address it at the end of the session. Also, this session is being recorded and will be shared with you for your future reference. Let's start now. I am Vaishnavi. I work at JK Technosoft as a senior specialist. I will help you understand what intelligent automation is and how it is different from RPM. I have Mr. Sandeep Joyce with me, who works at JK Technosoft as a technical lead. He will explain us on how to embrace this intelligent automation journey with few use cases across industries. Along with us, we have Mr. David Elliston, who is a senior pre-sales engineer at UiPath. He will showcase us some demos on intelligent automation using UiPath. Before we begin, I would like to talk about JKT's history and its presence in the industry. So we are a part of prestigious JK Group. It's a diversified group of business with more than 140 years of legacy. It has 50,000 plus employees and 3 research centers. JK Group has its presence across industries and JK Technosoft is its technology wing. In JKT, we have 1600 plus employees and we are spread across 4 different countries. Along with this, I would also like to highlight few of our recognitions in Europe. So these are very much specific to our digital journey. In 2017 and 18, we got selected for best practices in automation by the Parliamentary Review Committee. In 2018 and 19, we got nominated for the Digital Technical Excellence Award and we could make it to the final list in 2019. Also, we are a CMMI level 5 company. So this was all about JKT in a nutshell. And now that you have got the context, let's jump to our webinar. Automation spectrum. So before we understand the intelligent automation term, one should know about automation spectrum. As you can see, there are 4 stages of it. So automation was already there from the beginning. Like early in 1980s, a human operator used to initiate a series of steps manually, like scripts or macros. We call it as a task-based automation. But there were limitations to it, and thus with time, industries started adopting process automation, which includes automation of business processes through technology. And now is an era of cognitive automation, where a combination of computer vision and AI technologies drive automation for complex processes. At the end of automation spectrum lies digital workforce, which involves the usage of algorithms that self-learns and make decisions on their own. So the spectrum of automation has definitely expanded from transactional to judgment-driven. And in continuation to this, let's connect these 4 stages with intelligent automation trend. As I told you that automation was already there and it is just evolving and growing with time. So the first stage of automation spectrum was about industrial automation, which best represents our task-based automation. And then the business process automation. And now RPA paired with cognitive automation can accelerate digital transformation. The last one is about intelligent enterprises, which leverages the emerging technologies. So if you look at the graph, from repetitive tasks to high value tasks, automation has evolved with time. And on a similar note, Gartner also talks about the impact of intelligent automation and emerging technologies on industries in near future. Now you can imagine how intelligent automation is changing the world. And to understand what exactly it is, let's move ahead. As you all know, that this is a digital age, and industries are finding new ways of creating or modifying business processes, culture, and customer experiences to meet the changing business and the market requirements. And a holistic solution to all this is intelligent automation. So it is not a standalone process. It consists of several interconnected technologies and processes working together. Like it's a combination of robotic process automation, artificial intelligence, machine learning, natural language processing, and advanced analytics. Where RPA have always been there, mimicking the body of human being, with intelligent automation, we are giving brain to the bots. Now, if you look at the right side of a slide, there is something called as intelligent automation continuum, which says systems that do, think, and learn in a continuous manner. And the first part, that is about systems that do, is best represented by robotic process automation. But as you know, that today's RPA systems can only work with structured inputs and hard-coded business rules. So the next level of automation is required, which is systems that think. Basically, systems which are able to execute processes much more dynamically than RPM. And it includes natural language processing, smart APIs, etc. The third level is about systems that learn, which includes AI, ML, and sentiment analysis. So every organization has vast opportunities to apply all the technologies of systems that do, think, and learn at any point of time to improve the business processes, accelerate outcomes, and to enable powerful and predictive analytics. By this time, you got an idea how RPA plays a major role here. And hence, let's see the differences between RPA and intelligent automation. Now you have seen that intelligent automation integrates all the capabilities found in RPA, plus it adds additional capabilities to tackle processes that require judgment, intuition, creativity, and problem-solving skills. We all know that RPA works really well when dealing with structured situations. But in order to add more capabilities to RPA, we need more intelligence. And that's when intelligent automation comes in picture, which incorporates the advanced emerging technologies. You can achieve higher accuracy, cost reduction, improved productivity with RPA. And intelligent automation adds more value to it by providing reduction in employee turnover. By freeing employees from tedious manual tasks, it allows them to focus on more challenging tasks. It gives better insights into the business as it allows businesses to be proactive in their automation journey and to identify additional automation opportunities faster. Also, it helps in creating new job roles like machine learning engineer, automation engineer, other roles in software roles, in IT, and in other areas. So all this means is intelligent automation is supercharging RPM, and it can be used to optimize the value of RPM. And hence, let's now look at more benefits of intelligent automation over RPM. So when it comes to efficiency, it provides better efficiency than RPM, as it reduces the process handling time by significantly improving the process speed. For example, for invoice processing, we get lots of unstructured data and client cannot stick to any particular format of invoice as they do not have control over the vendor invoices. So in this case, RPA alone cannot deal with multiple different formats and unstructured data. But with the help of machine learning, a bot can read, it can continuously learn on its own, and it can identify a new invoice coming. Also, it can process it and can handle exception in a better manner. So in short, intelligent automation helps in achieving better efficiency with processes and delivers significantly greater cost reduction. Also, with the help of chatbots or conversational AIs, it certainly provides better customer experience than RPM. If you look at retail operation, AI and ML can predict the demand of any product and can automatically notify the procurement team about it. This ensures that it can run back-end operations very smoothly and thus helps in increasing the productivity. Also, there is a lot of scope of innovation as you can use your own machine learning algorithm, chatbots, etc. It also provides reduction and better handling of risk because of its more effective monitoring and fraud detection capabilities. So yes, intelligent automation has definitely lots of benefits over RPA, as RPA is not a cognitive computing solution. So till this point, we have seen the intelligent automation trends, what it is, and its benefits over RPM. And now to see some industry related use cases in detail and to know how to embrace this journey, I request my colleague Sandeep Joyce to take over. Sandeep, please continue.
Thank you, Vaishnavi. Thank you for introducing us to intelligent automation and also walking us through a few of the benefits of it. So, to continue where Vaishnavi has left, we have to start looking at few of the use cases in the market, which we can go ahead with intelligent automation before we see on what are the steps we need to take to embrace with intelligent automation. So as you can see on the screen, few of the domains which we deal with in day-to-day life, where the use cases can be picked up and started with intelligent automation. To start with, we have the manufacturing domain, where we have the processes like financial and accounting management, sourcing and procurement processes, and inventory management. So these are the processes which we can directly pick up for intelligent automation, and we have solutions for this. And then we have retail. We have insurance, where we have different processes like inventory management and also risk evaluation, claims management, and other processes like that. Also, we have healthcare, where we have patient appointment scheduling, automating discharge procedures, and basic insurance claiming and billing management, which are very complex and has more of human intervention there. And yes, prescription management. So these are the processes which we can directly pick up for intelligent automation without any hassle. So then we have shipping and logistics. Here we have major usage of chatbots for procurement. We can have track and warehouse analysis. We can also optimize the logistics routes using intelligent automation. So these are few of the industry specific use cases for intelligent automation. And in the next slides, we will be looking into two specific use cases, which will give you the right picture of intelligent automation. So on the screen, we have a use case called as intelligent purchase order processing. So basically, you would have seen or heard about this process, which is very common with RPA, where the bot receives the inputs in PDF or image formats, basically the purchase orders. The bot uses OCR in the traditional RPA methodology, where we extract the text data from the sources. We convert them into structured format like Excel, JSON, or XML formats, which are the easier ways of, or the formats I can say, where the applications can use the data. So this is the normal trend with RPA. So how does intelligent automation fit here? So let's take an example here. As I said, the purchase orders will be used, or we will use OCR to extract the data. And we all know that there are limitations with OCR, that the PDF or the images, the data part has to be structured and they have to be clear. So if it is a scanned image or other thing, it is unstructured, we will face problems in extracting the right data. So here is where the intelligent automation comes into picture. We have different tools with the UiPath. Basically, we have different things like document understanding. We can write our own AI models where when you are extracting the data, we can use different extractors based on regular expression, based on string manipulations, based on image extractions, various kinds of things. So basically, we are trying to step up with RPA, have a lot of intelligent things in extracting this data, where a lot of coding and time is saved because we are using a lot of machine learning and other tools which are there with UiPath. So to look at the next scenario, what we have. So we have something called as conversational AI with RPA for patient self-service. So basically, how is this intelligent? So the combination of this AI layer and RPA layer using different intelligent automation tools provided with UiPath and other products, whatever are there in market, this makes it intelligent. So let's say that we have a traditional scenario of going to an hospital, booking an appointment, wait for the doctor's availability, and get diagnosed and tested for various things. So can we avoid that? Can we have something saved there, done by the robot intelligently, and we can utilize that time for some other important tasks? So basically what happens here is the user or the patient just gives a command to his social media devices or any entertainment devices so that it picks up the inputs from the user. Let's say that we want a health appointment for a doctor. So it picks up the time, the doctor who is available in the background, and every details which are required for our appointment. And then what that device does is it sends a request to the intelligent robot, which in the background triggers a lot of activities like checking the availability of the doctor and assigning that doctor, scheduling the timeline for the patient, and booking calendar invitation and directly getting the invite to the device, smart device. So this combination makes it very intelligent process automation, I would say. And a lot of tools are used here which are intelligent enough to get us to that next step of intelligent automation. So now we have to see how we have to embrace intelligent automation. So to move to that step, we have to know where to start with intelligent automation. So what are the prerequisites which we have to prepare before stepping into analysis of the process and start with intelligent automation? So here we have three things. To start with, we have to start with defining the desired business outcome. Here we need to consider the total cost to build the automation, the revenue behind it, and the risks behind this. We have to take care of those things. We have to list them down and have a mitigation plan for them. Then followed by this, we bring the tools together. We give people tools called as digital operations tool to use and see how effective it is to convert analog operations to digital operations. So basically we are assembling the digital operations tools with others. So this helps us in assessing the process, how we can scale it, and how we can enhance the same automation in nearby future when we have different changes for it, how easy it is to go with that. Then the next important thing is to optimize the business process, what we have looked. So basically we should not assume the process for automation as is. We have to look into it and see if anything can be improvised in the as is process. Here we have to take critical review and consider how intelligent automation may consume the data differently than how human beings consume the data, which along with the tools which you can see on the screen, various tools we have like iPaaS, process discovery, RPA, IBPMS, and other things. This will help us reduce very complex and very redundant manual steps. They can be completely eliminated. So to do that, these tools on the screen which you are seeing, they help us out. So now to see how we should embrace intelligent automation, we have 5 different phases. To start with, we start with assessment phase where we work with the clients, we talk to the stakeholders and define what is the desired outcome after this automation. So this process has different steps where we decide on the scope of the process, what should be automated, whether it is really needed to go for automation with this, whether we have to bring intelligent automation here, and what are the desired outcomes, and what are the key performance indicators after assessing this process. So once we have this assessed, we go to the next step, that is identifying the strategy to proceed with the implementation. So here also we engage with clients extensively to develop different strategies on how we should go ahead with this, what pilot projects we have to plan before starting with the major implementation, what are the benefits out of this automation, and how the future looks with this automation, and we analyze those things. So we have the strategy now, and as we discussed, we plan for pilot processes here. So we start with the implementation of the pilot projects. Basically, we would have identified some small scope which can identify how the future of implementation would look like. So we again start talking to the stakeholders who are directly involved in the processes. We start implementing the initial pilot. And also when we are doing this, we also establish a government pattern on how the automations or the robot should be delivered to the clients. So basically this will help us out to stay on the timeline and help us out in identifying the mistakes or any flaws in the automation at a very early stage. And also this will help us out to follow a very good and nice best practices for development. Basically, how do we have to go ahead with this? How should be the development pattern? What source control we are using, etc., etc. So once we are clear with these, once we have assessed it, once we have strategized, and once we are done with development of the pilot process, we continue with the implementation because we have the confidence now that we can go ahead and develop this bot. So we develop, we test it, and we release these automations, however it is required by the client. So this is where the development and testing starts, and the automation goes to production, or we can say it's live. But the process won't stop here. We have a next important step, which is very crucial and important in the development life cycle, which is managed operations. How do we take care of the robot after it is live? So basically, a lot of activities are here where we see the operations which are required here to maintain the bot or the automation. How do we manage it? What are the schedules and what requests it is used and how the bot is utilized over the time? And also training the bot, because it is intelligent automation. We have to see that it is continuously picking up the new things. So we have to look into that as well. Also looking at the performance of the bot, how much request it has processed, what time it is taking to process so and so requests and other aspects. Based on this, we take these statistics and we involve in continuous improvement of this automation. So this is the important phase, which I can say after go live period of the software development. So now we have seen what is intelligent automation and how to embrace it. Let's see few use cases which are automated using UiPath. So I would like to request Mr. David Elliston to walk us through some of the use cases which he has for us and enlighten us with new things with UiPath. Over to you, David.
Great, thanks very much, Sandeep. So what I'm going to do in the next 15 minutes or so is just to give you an idea of how the flexible design of UiPath's hyper-automation platform allows intelligent automation components really to open up unlimited possibilities for enhanced automation over and above the traditional rules-based way of working we've had to date. So I'm going to go through a couple of use cases just to show how this could work in practice. So with AI being added into the mix and available to RPA, the robot's not constrained by simple rules anymore. It can do things like understanding a document given to it without the need to be told what the layout looks like. So understanding documents is probably one of the best and sort of widest use cases we can look at, and that could be forms, it can be structured, semi-structured, things like invoices. You kind of know what's on them, but not necessarily where it is, or just completely unstructured documents that come in. You've just got to understand what they even are. AI can allow the robot to understand screens. So you might have a connection, a remote desktop connection, perhaps, where it's just being presented with an image. But with AI involved, it can see that as a series of buttons and labels and input boxes and understand the context of that form. And that's part of the computer vision aspect of the software. Using chatbots, we can start to understand and interact with conversations. And another important aspect of all of this is looking at language and interpreting language and understanding the sentiment of incoming documents. And there's so much more that we can do. It's kind of limited by our imagination. So what UiPath's platform does is to combine those AI capabilities with the core RPA software that we've had for a number of years now to offer an integrated and powerful business tool. So the platform includes a component that's accessed through to set it up at least through the central orchestrator management component called AI Fabric. And what it allows you to do is choose a machine learning model. So this could be an off-the-shelf model that some clever data scientists have built, or you've got in-house skills, build your own model, or use one of our models that we already have. Set this up in Orchestrator and add this as a component in your RPA workflow. You just drag it in as another component amongst all the other steps that you have in the RPA workflow. And then when you run that, it's going to reach some decision point which makes use of that model. And if it doesn't quite know what to do, then there will be cases where you validate with humans, you raise those exceptions, but then you can feed back into the model and improve it over time. So the AI fabric concept is the sort of broad piece that allows us to do all of these artificial intelligence activities. And then document understanding kind of sits on top of AI fabric, but it's kind of offered separately in that it's such a an important piece when we start to look at invoice processing. So it does sort of get singled out as a slightly separate object in some ways, but that's really the focus of the first of the two demo use cases I want to look at, which is intelligent invoice processing using that document understanding piece. And then the second one is more of an HR related use case. So trying to match CVs or resumes, depending on what you call those documents, but trying to match those to the jobs on offer in a company using some of the machine learning models that have been deployed in AI fabric. So the first one is that ubiquitous intelligent invoice processing ideas. So the way this really works is that vendors send in invoices. They may come as attachments to emails, or they may be paper invoices that are sent in the post and they're scanned, or they're some kind of electronic transfer, FTP or whatever. But they're going to end up at some point in some folder that the robot can access. The robot can be pulling them from the emails, the attachments from those emails as well. But in terms of what this process is going to do, the robot is going to iterate through each invoice, and then it's going to, first of all, OCR each one to get the text from the page. In fact, if you think about OCR is one of the kind of most established forms of AI, in that it's just looking at dots on the page and trying to work out what these mean in terms of readable letters and words. So having OCR'd and got the text, it will then try and understand from that text what the document is. So classifying it. Is this an invoice even? It might not be. There might be some other documents that have got into that folder, and we can pass them on to a different process. Having identified that, yes, this is an invoice, we want to extract the relevant fields. There's some other more complex parts to this, but which we're not going to go into in this demo. But again, if there's some issue with understanding that document initially, we may need to feed it back, and there's a component within the platform to allow us to do that. And it may be that on a simple value-based check, it's over £5,000 or whatever, or $5,000, whatever the currency is, that it has to go through an additional approval where the human user can interact. And again, I'll show you how that can work as well. And then finally, we'll feed the document into ERP at the end of the process. So let's just have a look at this one in action to actually see something going on. So this is just showing you roughly what it looks like in Studio, and very briefly kind of how you build these things. So we're basically sort of getting the documents, and for each document, what we're going to do is then apply these drag and drop components. So we're digitizing, we're OCRing it, we're classifying it. What is this document? We're extracting the data, and then if need be, we're putting it into validation station, and then it goes through the additional processing. So let's kick this off. We've got a couple of folders here. So there's a couple of documents here. So these are actually both image-based, so they have to be OCR'd first. And we're going to get the document, the data off these pages. Now, it's worth saying that because of the invoice machine learning model, these are unseen. We haven't templated these. It's never seen these before, so it's using the model to understand what these documents are all about. And that's the key to this, that you don't have to spend time templating documents. So it's now running. It's taking the first one, it's OCRing, it's classifying, it's trying to extract the data. We've set some low confidence levels on this, so that, because I kind of want it to come back and just show you in the validation station what we've actually got out of this. So here's the document on the right, and this is the information that's been extracted. So if I if I click on this field here, for example, it highlights on the document on the right where it found the invoice number. Now, bear in mind that this isn't templated, so what it's done is it's looked for the word invoice, and kind of around it somewhere it's expecting to find an invoice number. This could have been invoice hash or invoice no dot or invoice number or some other kind of text label, but it's looking at all of those and working out, using a bit of intelligence, where the number that it requires is. So this one actually has done a pretty good job on it. It's got everything we need, so we can just push that through and it will go on to the subsequent processing in the standard kind of RPA way. The second one is now being processed. And again, this we're having this pop up in the window. If I just try and save this straight off, actually, there is an error that it's highlighted in that it's being told to get the line item detail. I haven't found the quantity. So in the validation station, this very light touch human interaction, we can just highlight where the quantity is, tell it that's the value we want, save that, close it, save it, and push it through the rest of the process. And these kind of corrections can then be fed back in time to improve the model, so that if that keeps happening with that same vendor, we can correct the model, and then in the future we won't see that come up in validation station. So if we then pop across to orchestrator, we can then have a look in the action station. And this is just if there is an approval required, in this case it is a high value amount that somebody needs to look at. This could be done through the mobile phone app for orchestrator. In this case, we're going to just go through the orchestrator interface. I'll assign it to myself. I get the invoice picture, a couple of values that have been pulled from it in the extraction, and I can just hit approve, and that then goes on in the process automatically. So that's the first one. The second one I'm going to look at, this is using one of the machine learning models to do that matching of your CV document or your resume document to what jobs there are available within a company. This is perhaps something that applies to a bigger company where they get lots of sort of applications for jobs which are not perhaps specific to what's available at that given moment. But it's just to illustrate the kind of things that you can do with AI models. This actually uses two different machine learning skills. The first one, having gone through the emails and found the CV documents, it's going to examine that document to extract the skill set that the applicant has. And bear in mind that these documents they're not structured. It's however you choose to format this CV, however you lay it out. But the model has been developed so that it can read through these documents and extract the important skills that you have as you've gone through your working life. It will then feed that into a second machine learning model. And this is the one where it's taking that input of the skills you have and trying to find which of the jobs on offer is actually a good match. And then it formats the output from that into an email and sends it back to the applicant. So if we then have a look at this in action, this is on a short video, but the starting point here is looking at the inbox. So we've got 8 emails that have come in. People have said, I'm interested in a career. Here's my CV. What have you got? So, so what's actually going to happen there is that as the robot runs, hasn't quite been started yet. So we're just actually going to have a quick look at what's inside. So, typical kind of CV laid out. Different people lay out in different ways, but it's got your experience, who you've worked for, when you worked, and what skills you might have acquired. So it's just a manual reset to make these unread before the robot is kicked off. And inside the robot, the 2 skills that we're using, the machine learning skills, they're just activities you can see there. ML skill, you drag that in from the toolbox on the left, tell it which skill that you want to use. And it's just a part of the workflow in the same way that all the other things like click and read and all the other activities that you've got available, the way they're just dragged in. So the robot's running now. These little pop-ups are there just so that you have an idea of what the robot's doing. So otherwise, it just it's kind of a background task. So what it's doing is it's going through each one, unattaching the PDF, reading it, applying the machine learning model to work out what your skill set is, then applying it to the matching machine learning model, and then writing an email to the sent box and sending it back to the applicant. So as this runs, you get a feel for the time that can be saved compared to a human user doing this. So there's 8 emails in this inbox. I think this completes in well under 2 minutes. You can imagine how long this would take to do this manually. Someone's going to open it, read it, and then have a look at what's available on the website, and then write the email. Even if you did that from a template, it's still going to take you a while. So this is a very, very quick way of getting through these kind of fairly tedious sort of tasks. As it's coming up to the last one, so that then generates an email sent back to the applicant, and then the robot will finish, and then we'll just go back and have a look in the sent box as an example of what's sent back. So there's 3 links sent with a list of possible jobs that would suit that particular applicant. So there we are. That's it really. So there's just a couple of examples there of how using the AI components in conjunction with the core AI that we've had for a long time. It's just it's showing just a little bit of the art of the possible, but as I say, it's very much limited by your imagination. So think about what kind of tasks there are that need a bit of human judgment, and see what you can do with AI models. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, David. That were 2 wonderful processes which we have seen. They actually are intelligent and ease up a lot of tasks in our day-to-day life. So as we have reached the end of the webinar, now we open up for the Q&A. So as Vaishnavi had mentioned, we will take up the questions or any clarifications via the chat window. And I already see that I have started receiving questions. A few of the questions which I have received in my private chat, I will just read out the question and then we will take it up for answering. Meanwhile, when we are discussing this, people can start using the chat window and start asking their questions. So to start with, I think we have a question to you, David. What are the licensing packages available for intelligent automation tools, which we discussed, like AI Fabric and other tools?
Okay, so generally speaking, AI Fabric is, if you want to use machine learning models that are not the kind of typical Invoice and the more common ones, then AI Fabric is required, and that's a license component that sits on Orchestrator. Document understanding in terms of being able to process invoices can be done without needing AI Fabric, so that's a different way of licensing it, and it's based on a page model. So there's different levels depending on how many pages you're expecting to run through as you use invoice processing, for example. But I mean, we can go into more detail offline in terms of the actual numbers. So the JKT guys can sort of address that in more detail afterwards, if you like.
Yes. Thanks for that, David. And yes, after this slide, we will have your email ID shared with you so that in case if you need intelligent automation embraced in your organization, or if you have to start, yes. So you can reach out to us. You can drop us a mail at marketing@jkt.com, and we will start looking into it. We'll get in touch with you and we will see how we can take it further ahead. Okay, so the next question is which is to JKT. So I'll read out the question. Given the current way of thinking in that organizations are driving towards business process automation, prior to automation, in order to maximize the benefits of technology, what is JKT's approach towards streamlining the month-end closure process? So yes, to answer this question, month-end closure processes. So within JKT's intelligent automation framework, which is our proprietary offering, which is called as Intelligent Business Process Management Software. We call it as IBPMS. This is actually used to enable businesses to perform real-time reconciliations and get with analytics. So basically, it's a sort of soft close on a daily basis. So how does this help? This actually streamlines the month-end closure process in a way that it enables issues to be addressed whenever they happen immediately, rather than leaving everything to the last minute, so that we can plan our tasks and study the data and address the issues immediately, and we have a smooth month-end closure process. So yes, we have another question from Kiran Rahate. So the question is, our company is in the business of design, manufacture, and supply of industrial machinery. Can intelligent automation help us in engineering design function, where we work on hundreds of engineering designs and drawings every month? Yes. So from industrial machinery perspective, I would say intelligent automation can be implemented there in various different domains. It can be in assessing the designs. It can be in next industrial machinery logistics and other things like that. So one example I would like to give here, which can help, I'm just thinking out loud, is when we have same kind of designs which we are doing every time for different customers or like different prospects, we can have intelligent automation to study the designs and have the data as statistics or have this continuous data as telemetry, so that in future, whenever we have this data, we can study this data, see where we can improve our designs or our process of designing different things. And also we can improvise on the business part as well by using the statistics. So there are various other scenarios or use cases which we can have over this. So yes, I think that answers your question, Kiran. Yes, to move on to the next question, what we have is again a question to JKT with respect to COVID-19. So the question goes like, COVID-19 has had a devastating impact on the global economy, and businesses are facing a cash flow crisis. Does JKT have a solution in place to assist businesses with managing their cash flow? Yes, to answer this question, we have our own cognitive collection solution. As per my knowledge, it enables a business to predict potential cash flow issues and risks. So how does it help? We can analyze the customer payment trends in order to predict when the customers are likely to pay it, so that we can have better plan in place and we don't end up having last minute decisions. So basically this means that we can highlight which of the businesses or which of the customers are potentially suffering from cash flow, basically the cash flow issues. So we can address the problem in advance before it becomes a real issue. So cognitive collection solution is the answer which we have currently right now to deal with this problem. Yes, we have few more questions. It's actually good that people are interacting. Thanks a lot. So how do we get in touch with JKT if we want to embrace intelligent automation in our organization? So yes, to answer to that, again, we have the email ID on the screen, which is marketing@jktech.com. So you can just drop in a mail with your requirement or request on proceeding with the possible prospects. We can just get in connect and see how we can continue with it further. And Yes, I have a last question with me. Uh, how do we proceed with conversion of RPA processes to intelligent automation? If I already have RPA license, to make it intelligent, what all other technologies that we should be considering? So actually, this is a good question. So to answer the first question, how do we proceed with conversion of RPA process to intelligent automation? I would say that we will go with the 5 steps to start with the IA, which we saw on the slides, where we assess your current automation and the business process, whatever is done, the solution part of it. We see and then we start identifying the possible business improvisations and the places where we can pitch in intelligent automation. Let's say that we have a invoice order processing where we are using OCR and it is being done traditionally in RPA. So we will assess it and we will try to provide a solution on top of the parts like OCR, how to extract the data using intelligent automation, how we can do it in a very generic way, and how not to use the code to have redundant tasks. So basically, if there are like, let's say 10 invoice order of different templates, we don't sit and code for each one of them. We just teach the bot with intelligent automation tools on one template, and then it starts learning from the other templates. So this is like a continuous learning process which we have. So once we are done with that, we will go ahead with providing the best solution and how do we proceed with it. So the next along with this is what we have is if we had RPA license, how to make it intelligent and what all other technologies we have to use. So this actually depends on what the problem we are looking at. And when we are looking at this problem, we can identify. Let's take the simple example of invoice processing again, where we discussed about OCR, bringing that into intelligent automation. Instead of using the default OCR tools, we can go ahead with different products which suits the requirement. Like we have UiPath, AI Fabric, as David explained. We have document understanding. We have AI model skills. So it depends. So based on the requirement and the problem, we can improvise and have the solution identified. And based on that solution module, we have different packages which can support your RPA license, what you have already. So it can be done with that. So yes, we have another question from Yogesh Chauhan. How we can make process for face recognition with help of intelligent process automation? So here, what we have is face recognition. So I can take a use case of, let's say that employee management in the organization, everyday attendance part is done with the help of face recognition. So basically, every employee who enters the office, their face will be recognized and identified based on different aspects. And then we take action of various different steps like marking the attendance, marking the timesheets, and preparing some processes for that person for the day and all other activities. So with this use case, Yogesh, with intelligent process automation, what we can do is we can have different activities triggered in the background based on the facial recognition done. Let's say that we have uh, temperature scan done using some infrared sensors when we are doing a face recognition. So if the temperature, we can have automation done on that, which assesses the temperature and takes decision. Like if it's high, that person is immediately redirected to some check place where the temperature can be checked. And in these COVID situations, we can take different actions when the temperature is high. And if it is normal, then we can continue with different things. So looking at this facial recognition, we can have various different use cases with intelligent process automation. So yes, I think that answered your question, Yogesh. And yes, that was the last question which I had. So if anyone else has any questions, please shoot. We still have time, Pradeep?
No, it's crossed.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we are good. Yes. So can you please share your Twitter account and email ID to ask some query? Yes, Yogesh. So the team will send you the details after this webinar. So yes, closing this webinar, I thank each and every one of you who took time and joined in this knowledge sharing session. And yes, please stay in, take care. We are still with the pandemic, so let's continue fighting it and have happy lives. And also, please, in case if you have any questions or any clarifications with respect to this webinar, you can drop an email to us and we will get back to you with the answer. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day ahead.